Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about an issue that the district has seen more frequently recently. There has been quite a few plan sets submitted to the plans engineer that do not meet the district and the office engineer expectations for drafting standards, especially consultant-derived plan sheets, which means that the oversight engineers are going to need to be more vigilant about the plans they receive from consultants. However, this is not just a consultant issue. Plans engineer is also seeing these issues with in-house plans. So PEs need to be on the lookout for these issues also. The goal of this presentation is to get PEs and oversight engineers to provide quality submittals at every step of the project reviews. However, it is vitally important at the PS&E step. Most of the issues we're going to be talking about could be avoided very early on in the project, and that is really where the issues start and where they should be addressed. We're going to look at a few bad examples along the way so you can get an idea of what to look for. The point is not to shame whomever's project this may be. The point is to learn from our collective mistakes. So if this is your project, please don't be offended. I have blurred out the identifying information. Just try to learn from it. I have created a checklist for oversight engineers I titled Oversight Engineer/PE Checklist for PS&E Submittal. So we're going to go over that checklist and a few other resources for oversight engineers that they might find helpful now. MicroStation DGN files must have a .dgn file extension, and the accompanying iPlot files must have a .ifile extension. If you look at the graphic below, you'll see an example of that. Requirement number 2 is that there is only one DGN file allowed per contract plan sheet. Each contract plan sheet is a standalone legal document. That means you cannot have all plan sheets in one DGN. They must be in separate DGN files. Requirement number 3 is that there is only one model allowed per DGN. That model's name should be default, and that default model should be the only model in the drawing. We actually had an issue come up where someone would open the file and see content in the DGN file, but when they attempted to reference that file to any other file, nothing would come in. That happened because everything in that file was in a different model other than the default model, and MicroStation will inherently attach the default model. So no data could be referenced into the misnamed model. You can quickly verify the model by opening the DGN and looking in the top left-hand corner of the drawing window. The other way is to go to the View tab, look at the View Groups palette, and notice the name of the model there. It should always be default. And if you look in the graphic, you can see that the two places you can find that default model. Now, if you notice there's 3 little asterisks on that line, that means you can verify these settings in the message center within MicroStation, which is a fast or quick way to look at that. Now, I created a how-to on how to use the message center, and you'll notice throughout this presentation that those 3 asterisks will come up on certain requirements. Since these DGNs are standalone legal documents, all data in the file must be within the DGN. No reference files will be allowed. All data has to be merged in at one of the very last steps. This is what Plans Engineer will see if you send them files with references attached. Requirement number 5 states that the units in the DGN file must be defined correctly. This is another one that has to be addressed at the beginning of the project. This is a non-issue for in-house staff if they use the correct seed file, which we will discuss next. However, consultants must use and configure their MicroStation settings to use the units.def file provided in the Consultant Resources Files webpage. Requirement number 6 states Caltrans seed files must be used. For District 11, those seed files are 2D eSeed zone6.dgn and 3D eSeed zone6.dgn for all sheets that have geographic data on them. For all other sheets that do not contain any geographic data, the generic v8 eSeed.dgn seed file may be used. Requirement number 7 states that consultants must use the DGN level libraries supplied in the consultant resource files for all standard leveling conventions. Our current leveling convention is called Named Levels. This convention supersedes the leveling convention that Caltrans used recently that was referred to as the V8 standards. The V8 standards leveling convention will remain the same to support the legacy plans maintained by Caltrans, but they should not be used with current projects. In the named levels leveling convention, level numbers were also assigned to the named levels. However, the levels will be referred to by the level name instead of the level numbers. The graphic at the bottom of the screen is an example from Appendix A10 that shows the level number, the level name, a description of the data on that level, and the color the level data should be on. The default level or level 0 should not be used to store any elements in a Caltrans MicroStation design file. Requirement number 8 states that if additional levels are necessary or warranted, they must adhere to the level naming structure set by Caltrans. The CAD User's Manual section 2.4 provides all the information that you would need to properly name the levels. Here are the level name structures from section 2.4 below in the graphics. Each task name, subunit, etc. is further explored in that section. If you really need to create a new level, you should consult with section 2.4 of the CAD User's Manual. One of the key takeaways from the previous slide is that you should have no bad levels or incorrectly created levels in your DGN file. That means no level names with consultant initials at the end of the level, no custom level names that only make sense to the designer or the consultant. The level naming convention is there to provide uniformity in the plotting environment, and when you have levels that do not adhere to the named levels leveling convention, Plans Engineer starts to see other issues pop up to cover up the root issue of the incorrect levels. For example, this is our first bad example of improper level usage. As a PE or oversight engineer, you should be looking for these signs all throughout your project. You do not want to see something like this in your level display window. Please notice that the level name may or may not look correct, but also notice that there is no associated level number, which is a clue that this is not a standard level and should be fixed. The levels that are shown in red will not plot correctly. One of the issues that usually pops up once people realize their PDF doesn't look right is to turn on level overrides. This is not an appropriate way to fix this, and it will be caught by the plans engineer. Please do not turn on level overrides. The data will need to be moved at the last minute if it is submitted to plans engineer like this, and that is a very time-consuming process, and it is very difficult to fix if you are not the designer. Trying to track down levels and where it should go is the job of the designer, not the plans engineer. The key takeaway here is to catch this early so it's not a problem at the very last second, and there is no need to modify settings you shouldn't be modifying anyways. Our second bad example shows level names with consultant initials on the end of the level name. This is not allowed, and this file should be returned to the consultant for them to fix. Again, the level overrides were turned on so their PDF looked good, but this was caught by the plans engineer, and a lot of resources were needed to fix this because the task order had already ended and there was no billable hours. Yet the district staff cannot send this to headquarters like this. Caltrans does not use global display or global freeze options to control display of elements in the DGN file. Element display must be controlled by using the view display toggles. The key takeaway here, level overrides, global display, or global freeze should never be used, and also to verify your levels are named appropriately. Requirement number 9 is that consultants must use all Caltrans MicroStation resource files. All of the necessary resource files for PS&E submittals are located on the Consultant Resources webpage. They contain the line styles, font resource files, and the cell library, which we're going to go over now. Requirement number 10 states only Caltrans custom line styles can be used. The current Caltrans line style resource file is ctlstyle.rsc. Line styles are not part of the design file. Unlike linear patterning, which uses cells, the Caltrans line style resource file must be present on the workstation and MicroStation must be configured to use it. Utilities have their own special line styles, and their usage can be found in section 2.7F of the CAD User's Manual. As the Oversight Engineer or the PE, you should be looking for all generic lines with no line style associated to that line. For example, barrier has a specific look to the line style. If a barrier line is just a continuous line with no style associated with it, that is a red flag. The consultant may not be using the line style resource file. Requirement number 11 states that we are to use only the standard fonts in the Caltrans font resource file, which is currently ctfont.rsc. There are 7 fonts shown in Appendix A6 of the CAD User's Manual. Those are the only fonts currently used by Caltrans. Do not use the other outdated fonts that are in the font resource file or custom fonts by consultants. Font number 3, or CT Font 1, is the new standard Caltrans font used by all functional units. It was developed to improve the printing quality and the clarity for 11 by 17 plots. It contains additional characters for clarity. Font 43 is bold. It is used for the preparation of the final contract plans. Fonts 4, 7, 55, and 56 are used by the right-of-way engineering group only, so those are the only plans that those fonts should appear on. Font 3, or CT Font 1, has replaced the need for using font 23 when labeling waterways and as-built. Use font 3 with a slant angle of 25 degrees for waterways and as-built changes. As the Oversight Engineer or PE, you should be looking for fonts that look different or odd compared to our standard fonts. Appendix A6 shows all the fonts that are allowed by Caltrans and their characters. Requirement number 12 is that all users must use the latest Caltrans border sheets, profile grids, and clip frames. Please notice that there are 2 separate files for consultants and in-house designers here. Consultants must use the provided ctcellLib.cell library, whereas in-house designers must use the ctcellLib underbar named levels.cell library. If you are an in-house designer, please use the underbar tags cells for borders, etc. This makes updating sheets extremely easy as it can be done in a batch process. Caltrans doesn't use relative graphic cells, interactive cells, or shared cells. You can see section 2.9F of the CAD User's Manual for more information on each type that I just listed. If you need more help determining how to find these types of cells in a drawing, please contact District 11 CAD support. As the Oversight Engineer or the PE, you should be looking for custom border sheets, profile grids, or clip frames that don't look normal. Our border sheets, profile grids, and clip frames are very uniform because they are cells, and therefore they shouldn't have any additional or odd-looking variances on them. Requirement number 13 is that users must use the appropriate color in the Caltrans color table, in conjunction with the named levels guidance. Caltrans has 2 standard color tables. The first one is the main one Caltrans will use, that is ctcolor.table. The other color table is used by the Office of Transportation Architecture and the Office of Electrical, Mechanical, Water, and Wastewater, which use the TAE-MWW underbar color.table. Our plotting design scripts have several reserved colors, which mean do not use those colors unless you know what you are doing and why you're doing it. Color 250, 251, 252, and 255 are all the reserved colors in Caltrans. Color 250 is used to mask over elements to avoid partially deleting or trimming them. It will plot a shape's filled interior as white, and it will also plot the exterior as white. Essentially, you won't see it. Color 251 is used to force a filled shape to plot the interior of the shape white and the exterior boundary as black. So all you will see is an outline. Color 252 should not be used for any element because the plotting design script uses that color to identify the plot shape of the sheet border. Color 255 is used as the background color and should not be used as it will not be seen on the screen. Generally, section 2.8 of the CAD User's Manual has additional information for you to use. Requirement number 15 is for all PEs and oversight engineers, which states you need to verify compliance with all prescribed Caltrans text sizes, cell sizes, and drafting conventions within your specific scale plan sheets. Say, for example, you're using the standard 1 inch equals 50 foot border sheet. You need to make sure that the majority of text is sized at 7.0 and that your title project description text is set to 14.5. You can use the text scale cheat sheet to help you figure out the text based on plan scale and which type of text it is or cell it is. The checklist and the presentation will be posted to the District 11 CAD Support website shortly. In the meantime, you can find the checklist at the link shown below. If you have any specific questions, please contact District 11 CAD Support. We are here to help. We also provide help to users with MicroStation, Civil 3D, Taurus, GuideSign, Bluebeam, and most other general topics. We have recently updated our website, so please feel free to take a look. There will be more updates coming as well. Thank you for your time. Have a good afternoon.